Welcome to the 20 Years of Morrowind podcast. Morrowind is a shared journey that we took on our own, and today we are going to discover one such journey. My guest is Denina, a Morrowind mother, a fanfic author, and a member of the Morrowind community for many, many years. Welcome on in, Denina.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to talk to you. You know my question by now. I've asked it to many people. I simply want to know, what is your Morrowind journey?
Well, it started in 2004. My boyfriend and I had just moved in together, and we didn't have internet at first. We didn't have high-speed internet. And, he and I met through EverQuest. I didn't have anything to do. We couldn't play online, so I had nothing to do. He had a whole ton of games that he could play offline. No big deal for him. But I was kind of twiddling my thumbs, so he said, hey, I got this game from a video card I bought. Why don't you try it out? And it was Morrowind. So I did. I tried it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It is. How come 20 years later you're still playing that game?
The story that I have in the book, the 20-year history book, is pretty much why I still play it all these years later. It was just, I love the magic system in particular. It's so robust. It's so involved. You can do anything with the magic system, and I love it. And I've never found a game that gave me that flexibility, that adaptability, that it was everything I ever wanted in magic. And I still love that. And, people rag on the combat system in Morrowind, but I always liked it. It's like, yeah, you should suck when you start out at level 5,
You should get killed by a Chroma forager.
I've never gotten killed, even when my skill was 5. I've never been killed by a rat or a Nyx hound or anything. I had a couple close calls with a Kagooty, but yeah. But with the level 1 critters, I never had a problem with that. I didn't go running into Daedric ruins either, though.
Well, it all comes down to, playing smart and say, well, that looks like a big creature. Maybe I'm just gonna go the other way for now.
Yeah, exactly. And I stayed away from bandit caves. I know early on when I discovered that the loot was better after a certain level, I stopped going to bandit caves before that level. I won't say what level, but if you know the construction site, you know what level.
That's another thing. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because you mentioned the construction set, but we'll go back to just playing Morrowind. Do you think that knowing the construction set and knowing the inner workings of the game, does that take away from the game itself?
I never thought about that, but honestly, I don't think so, because I still have just as much fun playing as I do modding.
Mm-hmm.
I know, the thing is, I know a lot of exploits that I can, take advantage of. I know, knowing how the game is set up, it makes it easy to cheat if you want to.
So but it's not cheating, it's taking advantage of what's there.
I love how you put that. But yeah, I still have fun with it. Even knowing the construction set as well as I do, and I don't know everything, of course. Scripting is out of my league. But, knowing what I know, it's just, it still doesn't spoil the game for me. I still enjoy playing, and I don't cheat all the time when I play. I know where to steal stuff. That's pretty much it.
Like, not all the time. But no, I get that. Like, even if you know, and you don't even know to know the construction set. If you've played the game for a little bit, you know that even at level 1, you can get that really, really sweet glass armor if you're willing to still run hide a little bit, and you know where to get really good stuff from the beginning if you want to.
Yeah, my most recent game, I stole the Sword of White Woe from that guard tower in Balmora.
It's right there. It's in Balmora. Yeah.
Well, the guard is dumb. I mean, you can stand on the basket right beside him and steal the sword, and he just looks at you like, okay, Hi, I'm stoned. That's how he acts. Just looks at you. He doesn't care.
But that's one of the things about Morrowind. It's like absolutely anywhere in the game you could find something. It's just there. And well, you have to find it the first time round, or possibly you've read it online in a guide or tips and tricks sort of things. But the fact that there are things to be found, even in Balmora, maybe we're not going to say more about it in case some people haven't found it yet. You mentioned your boyfriend and now husband. Did he play Morrowind as well?
Yes, he did. He's actually the one who helped me figure out the construction set because I wanted to edit a room in I can't remember where now, Fighters Guild maybe, but I wanted to edit a room and I was having trouble with Snap to Grid. I couldn't get it to work right. I didn't know what I was doing. So he sat with a construction set for like 20 minutes and he goes, "Oh, okay, I figured this out," and blah, 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 blah. He told me how to do it. I was off and running with modding ever since. So I owe my husband well, he was my boyfriend at the time, but I owe him for my modding. So
You're
you can thank the
modding,
person.
you're playing.
Yeah. Marwin was actually the source of quite a few arguments between him and me because I would spend so much time playing that he felt ignored, and for a while he regretted showing me the game. And I said, "Okay, you're right. I do play too much. I will cut back and spend more time with you." And then we've been fine ever since. So, but yeah, it was actually a point of contention for a while, but we both grew up and got over it.
Yeah, I can imagine that fairly easily because like, you get so involved either in that character you're playing or in that mod you're creating, and like you have to see it done.
Yes, exactly. Well, the thing was, at the time we were still playing EverQuest together, and we knew a lot of people who'd split up with their significant other or been divorced because their spouse felt ignored because they were playing EverQuest all the time. And we went through that with Morrowind briefly. I mean, it didn't last long, thankfully, but it's just it was very relatable. It's like this really does happen to people. They feel ignored by their spouses. My husband felt ignored by me and I felt bad, so I cut back some and he was happy. So once he was happy, he's like, "Whew, okay, crisis averted." On with life.
It's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I can be obsessive when I'm playing, and with Morrowind, I wasn't obsessed with Morrowind for many years between the last time I wrote a story with Alien Sloth and now. I mean, I focused on my career for a while, so I didn't play hardly any at all for years, and then now I just can't get enough of it. I've been playing for, I think, over a year now, and I'm not tired of it yet, which is weird.
That's not weird. It's perfectly normal. You mentioned at the beginning the spell casting.
Yes.
Which got me a little surprised because I thought maybe it's because of the stories that you wrote with your character being more like a paladin. So I imagine you playing more knight type of characters rather than mages.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I never really talk about my mage characters very much.
Now
Leah...
they feel neglected too.
Probably. Leah, she's my knight character. She's the one I write about, and she is she's the base, Morrowind character creation knight. She knows restoration. That's pretty much her, and enchantments. I've worked up her mysticism, but I can't say she really gets it because she's not really that magic oriented. But all my other characters that I play are usually fighter mage hybrids with heavy, it's usually split pretty evenly, usually 4 or 5 combat skills, 4 or 5 magic skills. I usually have speechcraft as major, so that's the only stealth skill I really use. So,
have you ever been inspired to write about those other characters?
I actually have an idea for one that I want to write once Sloth and I are done writing the series. I don't know how familiar you might be with my really old mods. I once made a house mod called Marigold Manor.
I know, yeah, I see the one.
I made that house mod for a very specific character named Christina Marigold. And she was a sorcerer, base Morrowind character creation. And that was the first mage type character I ever played. And she was a lot of fun. And I came up with a story idea for her. And I'm still working on the plot because it's very different from the Morrowind main quest. It's actually an alternate main quest that I've come up with in my head, and I have to flesh it out some more. But I really want to write that story. So yeah, I'll probably be writing about Christina Marigold next. So
okay, that's exciting news. Since we're on the topic of writing, you mentioned stories that you wrote with Aliens Love. What is the best place if we want to read those stories?
Archive of Our Own, aka AO3. I will get you a link for that.
I've got it already.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. Thank you. But yeah, Sloth and I have posted all our stories. Both our old series. We're started posting our new series that we're still currently writing. We're on story number 7 right now, but she started posting number 1. So we'll be posting a chapter a week on that. So anybody want a serial to follow, that would be, you can follow that one. I'm really excited about it. This new series is our best series yet, in my opinion. It just came together so easily and so well. And, it delved into a lot of things I always wanted to write about, and I finally did it. And she feels similarly, I believe. So it's been really fun to write. And we've written these. We started writing October 14th, 2021. It's now, May 23rd, 2022. So, we've been writing on these for 8 months now, and we've got 7 really long stories. They're almost novel length.
Can you tell us a little bit about the writing process, especially when you're working with someone else? How does that work?
Oh, sometimes, often I joke about sharing a hive mind. We're so much on the same wavelength so much of the time, and it's just like, I'll write something, I'll email it to her, she'll go, excellent worms. We call our words worms. That's our joke. She'll go, and then she'll write on, and then she'll add on to it, and then I'll add on to it, and and we go back and forth, and we give each other feedback. Like, sometimes she'll say, "Oh, I changed the grammar on this because it was wonky," and I'll say the same thing to her. Sometimes if I don't like something she's written, well, not that I don't like it, but I think it could be fixed to be a little bit better. I'll tell her about it. She does the same thing for me. And we just it's balancing. We're not afraid to tell each other, this doesn't work. Let's try this instead. So
I'm guessing there isn't a lot of room for ego when you have to work so closely when you're creating something with someone like that.
The best piece of writing advice anybody ever gave to me is do not get attached to your words. Don't be afraid to change everything, because writing is rewriting is rewriting is rewriting. And that really truly is the best piece of advice anybody ever gave me for writing. And I'm not attached to anything I write. If she thinks it sucks, I'm happy to change it. She never says my writing sucks though, so I guess I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But she's also not afraid to change things if it needs to be.
It's important to be able to have an honest conversation about it.
Yes, and I feel really grateful that she and I have that rapport, that we can be honest with each other and the other doesn't get butthurt over it or anything like that. It's like, oh, okay, you're right. Maybe that could be better. And we run with that. And I think back when we wrote stories the first time, we were a little bit afraid of doing that. And we didn't do it as much as we should have. But this time around, I haven't held back. I don't think she's held back. And we've created what I think is really pretty good story. I still enjoy rereading it.
You mentioned the first time round, because you've been working together for a long time. When was that first time round?
I believe we wrote the first set of stories in 2006, when Basil and Leo were both Lalu characters. We did that in we wrote that story very quickly. That came together pretty fast. But during that time we were writing, we were hung up on the idea that Basil should have joined House Telvanni, Leah should have joined House Redoran, and so we decided we should write a story based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what brought about the second series. That was written, I want to say 2007-ish was when that was written. And then
How did it happen? Like, was it like, I don't know, how did you find out about that? You were both into writing fact fiction. How did you find each other? That's my question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Back in 2000, I want to say it was 2006, I started writing a story called The Prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about, it featured my character, Leah. And at the time, it never occurred to me to write with anyone else because why would it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started writing the story, and I posted it on Planet Elder Scrolls. And of course, it's a public forum. Sloth saw it. She liked doing the role plays and writing stories herself at the time. So she read, when I posted the first chapter and the second and the third, and she was reading it and she fell in love with my character. She's like, this is really great. We got talking privately about our characters, Basil and Leah, and it just kind of evolved in, hey, my villain is a vampire. This would be like a way to introduce Basil to it. So we started writing The Prisoners together after that. And that hadn't been the plan. That came about totally organically.
Mm-hmm.
And the story ended up being better because Sloth was a part of it with Basil. And that's how we started writing together.
However, Planet Elder Scrolls hasn't been around for a long, long time. So what advice would you give to people who enjoy writing or would like to try to write about Morrowind, their character? Is there a good place? Because Archive of Your Own is a big repository of stories, but you don't really talk about them there, do you?
People can comment there if they want to. That option is there. They'd have to log in, I believe, to make comments, unless the author has authorized anonymous comments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we allow anonymous comments, so you don't have to log in to do it. But we like being able to respond to the people who comment. So if you log in, that would be great. Make backups of everything. Don't be afraid to start writing. I mean, you don't have to be good. You don't have to start out great at it. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And make backups. Don't have one copy saved to your hard drive because hard drives crash.
Now, I know why you're giving that piece of advice. Would you like to tell everyone else why that's the first thing that you mentioned?
Yes. When we did, when you had me join you on stream,
Mm-hmm.
that back last year,
Mm-hmm.
we had talked about my stories, and I'd said something about, well, I'll post them for people to read. I still have them around here. I really thought I had. I could not find them anywhere. I tore my desk apart for looking for the thumb drives, and when I found the thumb drives, there was nothing on there, and I felt sick to my stomach.
I can imagine.
Because all those stories I'd written were gone, and I thought I had backed them up already, and I hadn't, and apparently I hadn't done them. I even asked my husband, can we put the old computers together so that we can find those stories and I can save them to a hard drive? And he's like, Shayna, there's no way. Those computers aren't functional anymore. And I swore colorfully when he said that. And I got a few tears in my eyes. I'm like, I can only pray that Sloth still has our stories. So I wrote to her and asked her, and thank God she had them. I mean, I was just, she packaged them up and sent them to me. And I in that moment, I felt I could have kissed her. Because that's how grateful I was that she had saved them. So now I have them backed up in like 3 different places, and they're on Archive of Our Own, and I'm happy. So yeah, that's why I say don't back up. Do back up everything, but also don't throw away anything you write, because you want to be able to go back someday and say, wow, I've come a long way since I wrote this.
Mm.
because you will get better as you do it, and you don't want to lose all those things because you might be able to use those scraps of writings that you abandoned one time. There might be an idea in that you can use in another story. So
Mm.
never ever ever throw anything away that you write. That's my best advice.
Sound advice. Sound advice. Let's go back to Planet Elder Scrolls and the good old days. How was it, especially compared like the Morrowind community is really quite active and close knit, I would say. Would you say things were different back in the days, the Planet Elder Scrolls days?
In some ways, the community was more closer knit back then than it is now. And in other ways, it's closer knit now than it was back then. And I know that's kind of weird sounding, so I'll try to explain it. But, back then we were on a forum,
Mm-hmm.
and forums were really good for ongoing discussions without all the, you know, like on Discord, we have conversation. It's more conversational, but on forums, it's more topic focused.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, I think, on Planet Elder Scrolls bonded over the things we liked. We shared, the mutual, things we liked and shared. And it was easier back then to, start a topic, stay on topic, and discuss things in depth. And I really loved that. That was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But now, Discord, conversation flies by so fast, everything gets lost.
It's a good thing because you have that you say something and you get an immediate response, which arguably is better than on the forum. But at the same time, you're right. It feels like you have to be there at the right time to have the conversations that you'll find interesting.
Exactly. And that's really hard to do because, you have everybody all around the world, different time zones. A lot of people sleep when others are awake. And it's just really hard to, capture that old feeling of, bonding in a good discussion, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that completely. Bless you. Um,
Thanks.
and how would you say that the community is more closely knit today's then?
It's because of the conversation aspect of
Mm-hmm.
Discord.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you can respond right away. So when you meet people that are on at the same time as you are, you converse more with them and you can build relationships. And like one that comes to mind is Random Pal and Vegito.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
great
they
story.
started, I remember, you know, hearing about their friendship, how their friendship started, and the wonderful mods they make together. It's like, yeah, that's exactly why Discord is a good thing. That's just an example. There's more, obviously, but that's the first thing that popped in my head. So
It is,
yeah,
yeah.
and
Um,
also technology being what it is the technology has advanced so far since Morrowind was first released, and we have all these awesome tools like MGEXE, Lua, MWSC, all these great tools that make the game better. And I think the technology has bonded us more too. And and I have to admit, for some things with Lua, having Discord conversation, immediate response is better because there's so much troubleshooting involved, and troubleshooting is something that needs constant give and take.
mhm.
So I hope I answered your question. I kind
You
of
did. You did.
I feel like I went off on a tangent and I didn't mean to, but
No, tangents are welcome. Like whatever things we discuss are the things that we want to talk about, and that's fine. Since we're on the topic of Discord and we talked about writing before, I wanted to mention that Alice has created, well, when this will be published, it's going to be a week ago, but Alice has created a wonderful Discord channel called Morrowind Writers Guild, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put the link in the description and everything. And it's a great place to talk about writing, to share what you write, to get feedback, to give feedback. I think you're there as well, Denina, right?
oh yes. Actually, Alice and I conversed a bit about how it would be set up. I don't know if I'm the only one she conversed with. I doubt it, but she actually asked, my opinion on how to, on what to put in and everything. And so I'm really excited about the Morrowind Writers Guild because I've wanted something like that for a long time, but I wasn't motivated to do it myself. So I'm really grateful she took the reins and said, "Hey, let's do this." I'm like, yeah, works for me.
And I think it's also a great opportunity because writing, well, for me, I know that's the way it is. It's something that feels extremely intimidating. Like you feel like I couldn't possibly write anything. It's going to be rubbish. And at the same time, I know that at anyone's first word, I'm sure Shakespeare's first piece of writing was rubbish too. Like I know it's a process, but it's a very intimidating prospect.
It can be.
So
I love it personally.
yeah.
I can't imagine not writing. I'd feel like a lost little puppy if I didn't write. It's helped me keep my sanity more times than I can count. So yeah, I love to write. I don't find it intimidating at all, and it makes me sad when people tell me that they're rubbish at writing, because it's like, you're really not. You just have to work at it. And the sad thing is most people are so intimidated by the process they won't work at it because they think, well, what's the point? It sucks anyway. It's like, no, you got to get through the sucky part to get to the good part. So I would encourage everyone, absolutely everyone on the planet, to write something, and don't worry about whether it sucks or not. Everybody starts out, not doing good, but you can get better. You have to want it really bad, like an addiction.
Motivation. You said that writing is an important part in your life, and we've already talked about the stories that you wrote based on Morrowind and your characters. Is Morrowind the only thing you write about?
No. I actually write fan fiction for a television show called NCIS. It's the most popular television show in the entire world. I'm sure most people have heard of it by now. I've been writing NCIS fan fiction since 2015. I don't write as much now as I used to. I enjoy I really fell in love with those characters, and so I wanted to write about them, and the show is really flawed. The writing went to crap after the first few seasons. I think the writer's strike back when had a lot to do with that. So, there's a lot of material there. I mean, the show's been on for almost 20 years itself now, so there's a lot to write about still, and I enjoy doing that. Every year I participate in what's called a reverse bang challenge, and basically people make artwork of the characters, and then you write a story, and then an author comes along, selects an artwork, and writes a story based on it. And I do that every year now. I've done it for the last few years.
I love that sort of cooperation where somebody's work is going to inspire somebody else's work.
Oh, and then there's the Big Bang is just the opposite. A writer writes a story, and then somebody comes along and makes artwork based on the story.
Neat.
I haven't done that yet. I'm usually so preoccupied with so many projects that I don't actually ever do the Big Bang part of this challenge, but I do love the reverse bang, so I do that. Yeah, I write NCIS fanfiction. I have written one fanfiction for Hawaii 5.0, the new reboot that was canceled a couple years ago, but I have one based on that too, and I really love that story. It turned out well, I thought, but yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my fan fiction. Morrowind, NCIS, and the one Hawaii 5.0. So
it's funny because the two have, well, three, but really the two, Morrowind and NCIS, I feel they have nothing in common.
They don't.
Okay, good. I'm glad we clarified.
Well, I mean, NCIS is a TV show, based on, characters that are, quote unquote real life, and Morrowind's a fantasy game. So yeah, there's not really anything in common there, but I've loved Morrowind long before NCIS was a thing. So
it's because Morrowind.
Well, actually, no. NCIS came out in 2003,
so
and Morrowind came out in 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
not long, but.
Yeah, but I didn't discover NCIS until like 2007 or 2008. So I was late to the party on NCIS, which I usually am. But
as long as you get to party.
Yeah, I love to write. about both of them. So I do.
Tell me a little bit about the other Elder Scrolls games. Have you played them? What were your thoughts?
I was. Oh, I'm trying to be diplomatic here. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead.
I wanted to like Oblivion so much because all my friends were playing it at the time it came out. You know, Alien Sloth, Kike Amagami, Senshin. They were my friends back then. And they were all playing it and they loved it. And I wanted to like it. And I can't tell you how many times I loaded up the game and tried to play it and wanted to like it so much. And I just couldn't get into it. I tried so hard. I wanted to like it. I liked harvesting plants in Oblivion. That was pretty much the thing I loved best.
Just go for a
But
stroll and pick up flowers.
yeah, pretty much. But the physics engine was so touchy in Oblivion that it took the fun out of decorating, which is one of the things I love to do in Morrowind, is decorate my house. And I couldn't do that in Oblivion. And I hated the character models. I mean, anybody who's been on the Discord with me long enough knows how much I hate the vanilla bodies in Morrowind. I thought Oblivion was 100 times worse.
Do I remember the vanilla bodies of Oblivion? I think that I must have modded those so quick. I don't remember what they looked like, which is to say something.
To me, the Oblivion character models look creepy. Like, humans don't really look like that, people. Maybe elves do, but humans don't. That's creepy. No. And I just, ugh. And the funny thing is Alien Sloth tried. So, she connected me with all these mods to try to make it better so I could, and, it helped a little. But at the end of the day, I was just like, the physics is killing my fun here. I can't enjoy this. I want to, but I can't. And the combat I thought was, it wasn't as simple as Morrowind. And I know most players love that about it. And, I can see why they would. I mean, it's much more engaging, and I get that. But, I'm not very dexterous. So, Morrowind's combat was good for me. Like, yeah, you do the blocking, don't make me do it.
I get that completely. I know that the active block in Oblivion was like, finally we can fight. But for me, like even now in Morrowind, we have a number of mods that let you block actively, and I'm like, no, thank you. And you know me, I have 1,000 mods, a little less now. Shouldn't boast. But I have too many mods on my install, but I never ever put active blocking because I suck at playing games. That's the sad truth. And what about Skyrim? Did you give it a shot?
Oh yeah, I did actually. I didn't give it as much of a shot as I did Oblivion. And sometimes I feel like I really should go back and try to play Skyrim again, but it was better than Oblivion. I will give them that. I thought the game looked much better, especially as far as character models go. But my husband, when we got Skyrim, he pretty much took it over because we only had the one set of discs, and he loved Skyrim. He doesn't play Morrowind anymore because he loves Skyrim better.
And you're still married to him?
Yeah, I forgave him for that because we have our preferences.
No, that's normal.
Yeah, but he pretty much took over the disc, so I didn't really get a chance to play it that much. And I just, at the end of the day, the magic is not as good as Morrowind for any of it. So yeah, it's like I can't replay it. It's not better than the magic in Morrowind, so I'm just gonna stick with Morrowind. So, but maybe someday when I get bored with Morrowind, if that ever happens, I might give Skyrim another chance because I really didn't give it a fair shake the first time. I mean, I feel like I did the best I could with Oblivion because I wanted to like it, but Skyrim, I can't say that. So maybe someday I'll try again.
Yeah, it's like maybe there's something when you really really want something and you're trying too hard and you can't just enjoy something. It's like I'm gonna like this, I've got to like this, and you don't. So maybe just let it happen. Or
Yeah.
keep on playing Morrowind and modding Morrowind and writing about Morrowind. That works too.
Works for me.
For sure.
I'm still making mods in 2022, so yeah.
What is the last mod you've published?
Erengard Mine Redux. It's an old mod made by Graphite. He has long since left the community, but one day, it was back in, I want to say 2014 or 2015, he happened to look up his he looked up his name for Morrowind to see if his mod was still online, and he discovered that I had made the Morrowind crafting compatible version for 2.1 of Morrowind crafting, and he was thrilled that someone had, updated his mod. And at the time, he told me I could do anything I wanted with it because he wasn't interested in Morrowind anymore. He was grown up, moved on, real life happens type of thing.
Some people do that.
Yeah, I don't get it, but to each their own. But yeah, he really loved that I had done something with mine. He said, and I told him at the time that there were so many things I wanted to do with it. He's like, go for it. If you can update it and keep it alive, that's really cool. Thank you. And, he took it as a compliment that I had updated his mod.
It is. So what is the mod about?
You get to, he made the mod because at the time, the only way to legitimately make money was to fight and loot. And he wanted another way to make money without fighting and looting. So he made the Erengard Mines, which is the player can own and operate a diamond mine. And basically it's getting the business up and running and collecting the profits. It's actually, I always thought it was a simple mod until I went in to update the mod to make my vision of it possible. It's not as simple as it looks. It actually has a lot of complex scripting in it. And the thing was, I think he was a new scripter at the time, so he didn't really know what he was doing. And when I kept running into problems, I asked Takata, I'm like, help, why isn't this working? And he found a few things actually that were wrong with the scripts that I had never known. I don't think Graphite could have known, just, flaws in the scripting that he didn't even realize existed, and I didn't know they existed. But Takata discovered them, and he helped me fix them.
That's something that Bethesda's game are sort of famous or infamous for. Like, it just works, to cite a very famous quote. Like, it works, but it's not because it works that it is bug-free and flawless and everything, which makes it really, really hard to troubleshoot because it works. So...
But it didn't work perfectly. And Takata really, he went, above and beyond to help me fix the scripting and really he's the one who did it. He wrote the script, Drac put it in chat, and I copied it to the construction set.
Did your homework, basically.
He did. He was really great about it, and I really appreciated his help because the mod is a bit more perfect than the original now. And, I made a lot of the aesthetic changes that I wanted to see in the mod. Like, I always hated that the miners had to sleep in the mine. It's like, breathing diamond dust cannot be healthy.
No.
So I made a bunkhouse for it, and I did all the aesthetics, the new aesthetics for the mod. But, the scripting, I got help from Eddie5, I got help from Takata and Drac, and, I think you even helped me with dialogue a little bit when I...
which is a great time to mention the Morrowind modding I'm not even going to cut that out. If you go to the Morrowind modding community Discord, you can get help installing your mods, but also, and even I would say more importantly so, help making your mods. There's always somebody who will know more than you about scripting, dialogue, construction set, or any of the other tools that we have.
Yes, and I actually have, over the years, I've received plenty of help from MMC Discord people. They've always been really generous with their knowledge and their time, and, And a lot of them, when they give advice, they do it in a way that doesn't make you feel like an idiot, even though you feel like one. It just, they've been a really great community for, I've become a better modder because of them.
Mm.
It just, one of the things that's discouraging though, is that if you post something in Showcase to show off, 5 seconds later it's buried.
That's the being victim of the success. A lot of people want to share, and we're back to the forums. With the forums, you would have your thread, and it would be there, and people interested by the name of the mod would check it out.
Exactly. I miss that.
There are a number of mods that have their own thread, and that section is getting bigger and bigger. Unfortunately, we can't do that for every single mod, but ideally it would be really nice for each person to have a place. We have threads, which people are starting to use, but I think they don't last very long.
No, they're archived in 7 days if nobody posts on them. So, and if you're working on a big mod and you don't update for 2 weeks, the thread is gone.
That's it. Game over.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I think if it was constantly being updated, it would be great. But if it's not being constantly updated, then the person who's showing off the mod is kind of left behind, so to speak. So it kind of sucks in that sense. Well, which I still think we all need a forum still, but no one listens to me on that, so whatever.
So I don't know. Like, I think forums are very much a thing of the past.
I know, and it makes me sad.
They have advantages, but it's like, why would you want to go on a forum? There's Discord. But that's the way it is.
Discord doesn't do everything well. That's the problem.
It
does a lot of things well.
It does many things better, but not that.
Yeah, not that.
Well, so. Maybe somebody will come up with a good compromise between Discord and forums. We'll have to think about it.
Yes, we can brainstorm and figure out a better way.
Figure it out. If only we could make a mod and that's it. I wish I could mod my life. That would be amazing.
I've thought that too at times, but yeah, you can, but you can't.
Well,
you can change if you don't like your life. You're the only one who has the power to change it, but you can't mod it.
Not quite. Oh, right. We've talked about a bunch of things. Is there something we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about?
We didn't get back to playing Morrowind.
Very true. We got sidetracked with so many things about Morrowind. Tell us more about Morrowind, playing the game, what you thought, what you felt, what you liked, what you disliked, and anything in between.
The main thing I really like about playing Morrowind is, well, as many others have said before, exploration. I love discovering areas that I haven't seen before, even if they're not particularly remarkable in any way. But, I really like the exploration aspect, and I spend a lot of my playing exploring and harvesting plants, and, of course, critters. Killing critters and looting their corpses. And one thing I wanted to mention is that since you made wares, looting is a lot more fun. It's really, improved the game a whole lot for me personally. It's, I really like getting uber loots.
Wait, hang on. Wares doesn't put uber loot. It just put variety of loot, and then if you install mods with uber items, then you get the uber loot. But that's on you, not on me.
But the thing is I don't use a lot of mods that add a lot of uber loots. But
good.
But I noticed that crafting loot is a lot easier to come by now. Like, I'm playing with Ashfall and Morrowind crafting and a few other mods, and to me, if I thought, ooh, there's a log in here, like a scrap piece of scrap wood from our own craft, like, ooh, practice,
wood.
Yeah, or like I use Andorus potted plants for wares, and I'll sometimes find a potted plant in a crate and like, yes,
I know, I
even though
love
it's
getting those and then put them on your little windowsill at home.
yes,
And every
that's
time you come
exactly
back,
what I
say,
do.
has it grown yet? Can I harvest it yet?
Yes, that's exactly it. My windowsill. I only have 2 plants on my windowsill at the moment because I haven't found any others yet. But but when I come across them on a merchant or in a crate, I grab them. Like, yes, even if I already have it, I grab it.
Yeah.
You can never have too many.
And it's like it's a surprise. Like it's every corpse or crate is a present waiting to be open.
Exactly. And that's really, to me, that's added a lot of fun to the game. So yeah, wares is a must for me now.
I think you will enjoy Merlord's latest mod, Drip, and I'm not going to try. Come on, dynamic, random item. I can never remember what that acronym stands for. I must have been told 5 times already, but you're going to like it because it uses vanilla Tamriel and Wesley's Fine Clothiers of Tamriel items, but you have a small chance that you can configure to have those items with a little enchantment on top of it.
Dynamic randomized item properties. I just
Please,
looked it up
you
on
looked it up.
Nexus.
Okay, I was going to say, please tell me you looked it up because otherwise I'm going to sound even more dumb.
Nope,
Properties.
you don't.
Thank you.
You don't. You're welcome.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
You mentioned the story from the book, but people might not have seen that book, and then you should have. People, I put the link to the book in the description as well, where people just share a memory they have of the game, or say what the game means to them. Would you tell us your story?
Oh, sure. Do you want me to read it from the book, or?
Up to you. You can read it, or you can tell us again.
I can. I think I remember most of it, so I can tell you.
Okay.
It was early when I first started playing the game, and I had, by that time I had looted a few bandit caves, and, and I was exploring. I had gone down the Foyata Mamea, I think it's pronounced. If it's wrong, I'm sorry.
It's pronounced
But
any way you want.
okay, good. So I was down at the end of that in the Ascadian Isles, and I saw this cave. I'm like, oh, cool, another bandit cave, right?
More loot.
Yeah, more loot. Like, okay, let's check it out. So I save, I go in, and it's really, really dark. And I'm like, this doesn't look like the typical bandit cave to me. And I took 2 steps in, and all of a sudden this shock ball lit up my screen. And I'm like, and my health dropped like a rock. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm looking around and I pop a healing potion. I'm looking around, I'm like, what is that? Oh my god, it has no face. And I just flee. I scared my boyfriend half to death. And I fled the cave. And I didn't stop running until I got back to Palmora because I didn't know if it was going to pursue me. And I just saw this thing with no face. And at the time, I didn't know anything about the main quest. I hadn't started it yet. I didn't know about the 6th house. I'd heard mention of it, but, I didn't know any of the creatures. And, my heart was pounding. I even sweat a little bit. I was like, whoa, I have never had this kind of reaction. My boyfriend was annoyed at me. He's like, why are you screaming? And I couldn't even get my breath to tell him what was going on for a minute. And finally I did. And he's just, he looked really annoyed with me at the time. And I was just like, I've never experienced anything like this in a game before, not even in EverQuest.
That's the thing with the 6th house creatures. So, spoiler, that was a 6th house cave.
Yeah.
With the red candles. Personally, me, 20 years later, when I enter a place and there's red candles everywhere, I turn around. And I go, there, that's it. That's it. Especially with mods, the 6th house creatures are deadlier and still ugly.
Yeah.
They're so ugly, and there's that weird fascination, like they're ugly and disgusting, but at the same time you can't help but look at them and go, oh, but they're so gross. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. That was my first. That's one of the things that actually hooked me to the game, is that I could have this reactive emotional response to something in a game. And it fascinated me, because after that I started, I looked up what was that creature, and that was when I got online and started looking up Morrowind for the first time, and I discovered Morrowind Summit at the time, which later turned to Planet Elder Scrolls.
Morrowind
So I
Summit,
actually had the sixth house is how I got to the community, because I went to look it up.
Praise
So, yeah.
Daggerthor.
I looked up Hasur, I think, to find what that was all about, and then as I got to know the story better, I realized this is a really cool game.
And there
Great
is so
storytelling.
much to it. There's so much to it as well.
Exactly. So yeah, that was my first memorable experience with Morrowind, was the Hasur. And then later on, I was playing House Lalu at the time. Later on, when you get the quest to go clear it out, I had I think it was Galbeater make me a constant effect Night Eye for me to go in there, because I did not want to go in there. I did not want to explore that in the dark. It was creepy. It was so creepy in there.
That's
So,
the thing
yeah.
with for me, six house caves I don't go in because I play permadeath and I'm level 1, so no. But the tombs, to this day, when I am in a tomb, also I modded the music out of my game, so the tombs is nothing but the whispers, and you hear that sound, yeah. And
Yeah,
when I
that's
am in a
creepy too.
tomb, I promise you, I stop breathing. Like I stop breathing, and I'm sort of tiptoeing. In my mind, I'm tiptoeing, and I'm expecting something horrible to happen.
I can relate. I've done the same thing. Like, do I really want to poke my head around this corner? No, not really, but I'm going to.
And do you do the thing where you're leaning on your chair a little to the left or a little to the right to try and see what's behind the corner?
Yes, I sure do.
Doesn't help.
It's instinct, I think.
This is a mod we need. Do you have like one mod that you're like really hoping for? What is the mod at the very, very top of your wish list?
Oh, that's a really good question, but honestly, I can't think of anything I truly want. I feel like my game is almost perfectly modded the way I like it. I mean, obviously each mod can use some improvements, but I'm having trouble thinking of even new mods to make, because I feel like I have everything I ever wanted.
And until you open the Nexus and you see a new mod and you go,
ooh,
how come I've
shiny.
never got, yeah, exactly. And then you play it and say, I could never play without it. How come it took 20 years to get this?
Yeah, I say that a lot, actually. The mods that have been made in this modathon, some of them have been really great, and others had no interest for me at all. And that's not the modder's fault, it's just personal preference. But
yeah, that's normal. Nobody will download every single mod because they all appeal to them.
Exactly. But every now and then people come out with stuff that I never knew I wanted until it was there. Like Drip is a good example of this right now. It's like, I never knew I wanted that, but yes, I really do want that. Gimme. Thank you, Merlord. Stuff like that. It's just, and there's so many Lua mods that I use. I mean, I have over 100 Lua mods in my load order now, and it's like, how did I live without these?
For me, the one mod that we got only a couple of years ago is the right-click exit one. When you can right-click to exit containers, that was like that in the game already. Yeah. And the dialogue and the trading window and everything. And let me tell you, when I make a new install and I forget to install it, I go in the game and I leave the game 3 seconds after, say, no.
Yeah, need that.
Definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think you've played Daggerfall, or not much.
I have downloaded it when it was free, but I've never actually gotten around to play it because Morrowind.
I know.
I'm addicted. It's a
I
drug.
know. I'm like,
I'm terrible.
you don't want to see my Steam library. I have games there, like hundreds of games, because I like the bundles, like, ooh, bunch of games. But then I go, I haven't played that, haven't played that, haven't played that. Why haven't you? Well, I'm playing Morrowind.
Yeah, that's kind of how I mean, I have a few other games. I don't have a huge library of games or anything, but I have a few others, and I really don't play any of them.
Do you sometimes
I
go
just
back to EverQuest or feel like you'd want to go back to it?
I actually last year I went back to EverQuest for a while. I actually played EverQuest more than Morrowind last year. Yeah, I did go back to it, and I hate to say it because even it's a 20-year-old game now. Well, actually, EverQuest is more than 20 years old now. It came out in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
But the game has changed so much as it's changed hands, because people have bought and sold it over the years, and it's a lot different than it was back when I was really into it and played every day for hours and hours on hours on end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lost its magic for me.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say, and I probably won't. And then last year, actually, it was EverQuest that made me start to hate MMOs again. I got sick of them, and I have had no desire to play it since. And it's funny because I loaded EverQuest up last week, actually, and because I knew there were some characters I wanted to delete off the servers because I'm never going to play them again. And while I was doing that, I noticed that the quality of the game, at least the original content that had started the whole thing off, was crap. They haven't fixed anything that was broken. Nobody plays that content anymore, so they don't bother with it. And it was a real contrast to World of Warcraft, where the quality was always well maintained. Even, level 1 content from the beginning was still perfectly playable as the later content was.
Yeah.
And, to me, it was just such a stark contrast that it's like, yeah, it's time to quit EverQuest for good now. So, yeah,
sad.
I made the decision last week that I'm not gonna pick it up ever again.
Well,
Because of
more time for Morrowind.
I always make plenty of time for Morrowind. If I'm not working, I'm either sleeping or in Morrowind.
Okay, fine. More time for your husband.
Yeah, pretty much. But, he doesn't have any desire to play it anymore either. And it kind of makes me sad because we met in EverQuest, so the game has a lot of sentimental value for both of us. But then, he and I dated essentially on EverQuest, if that makes sense.
It does. The thing is that the games change, our perception of the games change, we change, and it's always a little sad when you have such a very wow, that's it, I can't speak, where's my coffee? It's always very sad when you have a very precise memory of a game, like how you feel playing it, and then you play it again after some years and it's not there anymore. It's exactly. you have to mourn the game, basically.
Yeah, that's really how I feel. I feel like I've done everything in it that I want to do. And I've done it many times over. Because I love, I know you said you love creating new characters in Morrowind. I loved creating new characters in EverQuest. I loved the beginning of the game. The first 50 levels were fun. And after that, it becomes a grind. Yeah. And it's not as fun. So, yeah.
All right, let's not be sad talking about the past. Let's talk about the future. How do you imagine the future of Morrowind? If there's one.
I believe there is one because, look at the stuff. If you go into the Morrowind modding community Discord and you see everything that everyone is making, this game is not going to die anytime soon. I don't believe that for an instant. There's too many people invested in it. They're still making new tools, and, Murlord's doing the framework for crafting, and, and Lua is still being developed and expanded on, and there's just so much going on, and people are making overhauls of cells that were pretty mediocrely built by Bethesda, and they're making them fantastic. And they're completely revolutionizing the game for 2020s. And I just don't think it's going to die anytime soon. I'd be very surprised if it did. So I think we'll all be playing Morrowind for a very long time, maybe 20, 30 more years.
I like that. That's a perfect conclusion for this discussion. Denina, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I'll put all the links of the things we've mentioned today. Well, Denina, I know I will talk to you soon, and everybody who's listening, see you next week, I guess.
Okay, thanks.